Hello, and welcome to another episode of Break the Cycle with me, your host, Joshua Smith. Thank you guys so much for hanging out on a Friday night. I know it's 4th of July weekend, so you'd probably rather be out drinking your faces off. I get it. I understand. But we have a great guest tonight. Awesome show. I'm super stoked. I do want to tell you guys, today I uploaded custom hand-drawn emojis for all the channel members, hand-drawn by none other than Top Lobster. And now you have custom badges too, different colors depending on how long you've been a member of the channel. There's 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, I think 6 months and a year. And once you get that year, you're going to get that gold Break the Cycle badge, which is going to be coveted eventually on the show. I just know it. So sign up now. It also gets you into the exclusive after hours live show after the show with all my guests, or you can join Patreon or Subscribestar and get them uploaded the next day. But all that exclusive content is behind those paywalls. Guys, check out my sponsors, Lorenzotti.coffee, for all your delicious Italian coffee needs delivered directly to your door. Bring the taste of Italy home. Use BTC at checkout for a 10% discount. It's good coffee. Seriously, it's the best coffee I've ever had. You guys should really try it. I know some of my patrons have been buying it, and they really love it too. So check it out. TopLobster.com, the man, the myth, the legend. He will actually be my next guest after tonight on Monday. We're going to sit around and just make Italian hands because he's from New York. He's not Italian. He's Hispanic. But we're going to make Italian hands the whole time. It's going to be fun. Check out this man. You can get this awesome custom camo hoodie with Break the Cycle, the sunset logo on it. Use BTC at checkout for a 10% discount, or join the Patreon, join the channel, join the Subscribestar, get into the Discord server where he drops brand new designs 2 weeks before they go to general pop, and you get like a 30% discount. It's a deep discount. And he just put out a free Ross Ulbricht shirt today that is fire in the Discord chat. So if you want to get that shirt, definitely check it out. And executive producer of the show, anthemplanning.com, for all your emergency and crisis planning needs. Check these people out. See what they can do today for your family, business, home, life. They're amazing. They're doing something the government sucks at for a much cheaper price and much more efficiently. So use them for everything you can. Guys, we got an awesome show for you today. You guys have been a great friend to me over the last several years. He was actually the first person I ever interviewed on the show. If you go back down my podcast feed, the audio casts, you will come on 3 or 4 episodes that I recorded from my cell phone back in the day when I decided I was going to do a podcast. Super ghetto. And there is one with this man. He is the host of, was Death to Tyrants. Now it's Counterflow. Did I always say that wrong? It's
Counterflow.
Right. Yeah. Counterflow. Counterflow with Buck Johnson. He is Buck Johnson. How you doing tonight, sir?
I'm so good. I'm happy to be here and a part of this, not only this great show, but look at this set and the colors. And I'm trying to make my background kind of colorful like yours, so I think it'll be a fun evening.
You're getting there, man. You're getting there. You got some changing light colors behind you. You upgraded the camera. You used to just be an audio show, right?
I did, yeah. Once I switched over from Death to Tyrants to Counterflow, the video came about, and now it's weird to not do it video while I interview someone. But I used to be so nervous. They'd always say, "Do I need video?" And I'd say, "No," and I'd always have mine off. It felt more comfortable. Now it would feel really strange to not do it.
Yeah, it's for me, the video helped my podcast. I mean, if I was just doing audio, I'm just not as confident when I don't have the video, when I don't see my guests. It's like my ADHD does not allow me to hear what you're saying if I don't see your lips making the movements. And yes. So I get really, I'll start getting distracted. Oh, what can I play with? And so now when the video's on and I know there's people watching in the chat and I have my guests right in front of me, it makes it much, much easier. But you talked a little bit about the Death to Tyrants podcast, which was your old podcast, which I was a big fan of. I didn't even know that you were switching over to this Counterflow podcast, but the aesthetic's really nice. I know that Top Lobster hooked you up with some help with the aesthetic, correct? I mean, he helped draw some of that stuff.
He helped with some of the stuff. I've used certain graphics when I had certain guests on, and he's drawn those up for me. Also, my Twitter avatar was basically from his art. The actual aesthetics for the show, the branding of it all, and that's used on the, let's say, file when you look on iTunes or whatever, and my T-shirts are my man Bert, Neocon Remover.
Oh yeah, he's the best, man. I've had him on my show. It was a fun show.
I know. I watched it. It was hilarious.
It was a great show, man. That guy is absolute boss. Drop F's in the chat for the removal of Neocon Remover from Twitter once again. Very sad day in Twitter history. There's only one man who I've ever been more sad about Twitter removing than Trump, and it is always Neocon Remover. His posts.
He's not gone now, though.
Is he back? He was removed like 2 days ago. So.
Oh yeah, he was writing me today.
Oh God, I love it. They just can't keep a good man down, you know?
No, especially him. He's the best.
Yeah. So what's up with your changeover from Death to Tyrants, man? What happened there?
So I had been talking about doing a little bit of a rebrand, or thinking about it, I should say. I didn't really talk to many people about it, but one or two. And that was at the end of 2020. Because I had actually had people turn me down because of the name Death to Tyrants to come on the show. Not many, but a few people that it kind of hit me like, wow, I didn't think it was that scary of a name or anything like that. And I was used to it. And I then also didn't want to be pigeonholed into, I don't even know it depends on who you ask. It's subjective, certainly, that sounded like the podcast would be. A lot of, like, what is it, 3%ers, sure. People like that thought it was that. And then, of course, ANCAP stuff as well. And those are all causes and philosophies I'm sympathetic to naturally. But I also wanted to broaden it a bit, broaden the circles of guests that I bring on. So right about that time, I was approached by Thaddeus Russell. He said, I'm going to start a media network, and I want you to be the first podcast to come on and be a part of it outside of mine. And he had been friendly with me behind the scenes and helping me and kind of giving me tips here and there about the show. And he actually said, I don't want it to be called Death to Tyrants because that's such a strident name. I want you to have a different podcast while you still do Death to Tyrants. And then, and kind of floated that idea. And I don't know about you, Josh, you do more than me, but one a week is a giant, load of work, I'll say, because I'm interviewing people for long, over an hour at times. And like today, I interviewed a guy who wrote this book on populism and Steve Bannon. Well, I had to read this week.
Yeah.
So the thought of having to interview two other people or something this week with that, it's just too much. And then I did my live stream the other night. I'm doing this show tonight. So I said, I can't do but one a week. I have no issue with changing the name. I was thinking about that anyway. So let's just start the rebrand in 2021 at January 1st and come out as this. And I let my audience know leading up to it that was going to happen. We kept the same RSS feed for podcast nerds out there. That means basically once I changed the branding of it, that if you were subscribed to Death to Tyrants, it would just pop right up in your feed like always once I switched over. So that started in January of this year, Counterflow with Buck Johnson. And at the same time, you and I spoke about this before we started recording. Part of that also includes me doing all the video now. And so every episode just about has video on YouTube. And then, of course, it's in the podcast. And now I've been doing live streams, too, on YouTube, which have been really, really fun. I've figured out how to do that, and people comment as we go. So the YouTube page is slowly starting to build up an audience as well, but it's got to catch up to the actual podcast downloads, because for years I didn't say anything about it because it was just a still shot of my artwork, and I didn't really care about the YouTube stuff. But now I love it.
Yeah, I live stream. All my shows are live. unless I have somebody from like overseas. Like when I had Zuby on, I had to record that because he just couldn't do 3:00 in the morning his time. You know what I mean? Because I have a set time, 7:30. I've done one show at 6:30 because of something that I had. I've recorded a couple shows I had to record with Phil Labonte because it was the only way I could get Phil on because he does a live show at the same time I do my live shows. And but yeah, it's a live show, and that's another thing. It helped my podcast. Like when it's live, if you fuck up, that's it. I mean, everyone's gonna see it. You know, there's no editing, nothing like that at all. And there was one actually recently I had. The most controversial episode I've had so far was with Dr. Carlin Borisenko from New Hampshire. She's very critical of CRT, which I say critical of critical race theory, but but she gets really mad and says a lot of things to people if they call it an anti-white movement. Which and I had an argument with her about, not an argument, but we had a good talk about it. But she's got a lot of trolls who actually ended up in my chat. Hundreds of people dropping all kinds of stuff. So I actually had to pull my phone out and start moderating the chat because it's like YouTube will kick you off if your chat gets has issues.
Yeah.
And
Sure.
And so it was pretty crazy, man. But I like the Counterflow thing. I think it looks really good. You went a little more professional looking and stuff like that, which I think is a good thing. But you talked a little bit about Thad, man. That's it's been a crazy week.
It's been a crazy week for a lot of people, including my guy Thad.
Yeah,
yes.
Where are you at, man? Where are you at on all this? Has it been okay for you or what?
It has. The timing was funny because I did this live stream on. It's been that much of a week. I lost track of days. I did a live stream at some point this week with Pete, Matt Kingpilled, Matt Erickson, Andrew from Popular Liberty, and my buddy Tho Bishop. And right as we did that, my Twitter feed was going nuts. And I saw somewhere in there afterwards something about Thad. Someone tagged me in something, and then the age of consent discussion. And I was like, oh shit, here we go. Here we go. And he was just in town hanging out with me a week or two ago, and we actually discussed that topic. And so he doesn't like discussing it, oddly enough.
Shocking.
Yeah. And so my Twitter feed was going nuts. Anyway, I saw that somewhere in there. Someone tagged me to respond, and I didn't. And it has since, I've been so invested in people writing me about this live feed. Michael Heiss called me this morning to discuss some issues about this kind of stuff. So I have not had a chance. I don't really. It's not a topic I find very interesting, to be quite honest.
Me neither.
I can chat about it with Thad, and we did. But to me, it's like if someone goes, "What do you think about so and so's issue on the environment?" It's like, I don't know. That's not really that much of an interesting topic to me. So I guess whatever.
Well, as you could tell from my intro song, that's actually called "Wood Chipper Go Burr."
Yes.
Everyone knows where I stand on the issue for sure. I make it very clear. But yeah, man, crazy shit. Very crazy. It's been wild, dude. Wild week.
Yes, it has. And that was just like one little aspect of it, and it's crazy. Yeah.
Well, you bring up something else that I definitely want to talk about. So you bring up Michael Heiss. Michael Heiss calls you with some problems. Michael Heiss is my best friend, man. Like, I love the guy to death. Okay. He's like a brother to me. You know that I helped build the Mises Caucus to what it is today.
Yes.
I mean, I haven't been able to do a lot for the last year, but up to my chair run in 2020, I mean, I was hardcore.
I supported.
Yeah, I know you did, and I appreciate that, sir. I think, did we actually get you as a delegate?
No.
We tried. I know we tried really hard.
I was not seated or some kind of those parliamentary procedure things.
I'm so shocked with Texas, man. They're,
Yeah.
And honest to God, I mean, if we had taken Texas, that might have done it, man. It might have been close. You know what I mean? It was pretty close. Yeah. It was 100 votes. So, but yeah, so you have become pretty outspoken against the Libertarian Party these days, bud, right? And you were on the Mises Caucus train for a while. So what was it that really changed your mind?
So a few things. I love the people that I have met from the LPMC. I really like.
Sure.
There's been some encounters online, little thorny here and there, but I have been in and out of the Libertarian Party since 2000. And let's just say you guys are definitely better than a lot of the LP Texas members. You probably are aware of that. And party politics is just not for me.
True.
I didn't jump out of the LP and jump into another political party. I just don't find anything interesting about being delegates, about going through Robert's Rules of Order, or anything of that sort. I just don't like it. And the actual LP itself, this was part of the discussion I had today. I think it's mostly pretty much run by left-wingers. I realize maybe the LPMC doesn't view themselves in that light, and it could change. But any group that says I'm neither left nor right, you're probably left-wing if you say that, in my opinion. And if you advertise that as the mantra for your group, you will become left-wing whether you like it or not, because the left feeds on weakness like that, and they will eat it and take it over. It's happened throughout the history of this country. Every organization, it's Conquest's second law, that's not explicitly right-wing becomes left-wing. Sure. And so any group that their whole mantra, part of it is we're neither left nor right. That's not my thing either.
So you are aware that the Mises Caucus now owns 25 state parties around the country, though. We're coming. We're coming for Texas too. Don't worry, we're coming.
I hope you get Texas, because the ones here, the Texas LP Twitter feed, my God,
it's been bad. It's been bad. Why couldn't they take a note from Kentucky, man? You know?
Yes, that'll run anyone out of the local LP.
Yeah, absolutely. So you're talking about this stream that you did with Pete and King Pilled and Andrew, who I don't really know Andrew very much. I knew everybody else on that, and Tho, who I've had on my show. I've had Tho and Pete on my show. You know, I'm a huge fan of all of them. Pete is really. It's funny because Pete is like the ultimate like king tier shit poster. And just destroys people online. But he's the nicest guy in real life, dude.
He is that. It's funny. He has this cold, kind of harsh demeanor. And the very first time I met him in person, we had talked many times on Zoom or Skype. He pulls me in for a hug, and he has a big smile on his face. So, yeah, don't let the grouchy exterior fool you.
Or the goatee. It's the goatee and the bald head. Right. It's a little scary, you know.
It's that, it's a little menacing. I'll admit.
He really is. He really is such a nice guy. I've met Pete. I was on a panel with Pete in Georgia at the Georgia State Convention. We were on a communicating liberty panel, and it was funny because it was myself, Pete Quinones, and God, I always forget the other guy's name. He used to work on a show with Shane.
Shane Hazel.
Yeah. And he works with the Republican Party and stuff too. But I'm gonna remember his name. I know his name. Damn it. But anyways, so we did a panel, and we were all three so much different, right? Because Pete's like, look, you gotta just go in there and just start taking hearts, you know, and like stabbing people with spears. And I'm like, you know, I'm running for chair at the time, and I'm like, and I think that, you know, your podcast and everything are great. You got to do this and that and this and that. And then the other dude's like, oh, I work on campaigns and this and that. And it was just so different, but it like really flowed very well, you know?
Yeah.
So let's talk about that stream a little bit. You had Matt Kingpilled on, who is pretty cool on a lot of things. Definitely kind of got this agorist mindset almost, but then he works with Jason Stapleton. They're really big on the wealth and power stuff, right? And he said something it was the stream with Clint. He said, what you have to do is make enough money to where taxation just becomes a minor inconvenience. Mm-hmm. That didn't sit very well with me, or a lot of libertarians. I got 7 kids, so taxation is already pretty much a very minor inconvenience for me because I have 6 dependents on my taxes.
7 kids?
I got 7 kids now. Do you not know this stuff, Buck? Have you not?
I knew you had a lot, but I knew you were important, but you're also extremely potent.
Yeah, well, so if one more time, since I always like to try and tell my friends the story, a little over a year ago, I was living by myself in a house with my best friend. With no kids in the house. I had a 16-year-old daughter who didn't live with me. And I moved to Iowa to be with my fiance now, but girlfriend at the time, she had 2 young daughters. We got pregnant in April, and then I got custody of my daughter in October, but she had 2 siblings that aren't mine, and they were my ex-wife's. And they were going to go to foster care, so I was able to get custody of them as well. And then we had my son December 31st. Sorry, New Year's Eve. And then my daughter gave birth to my granddaughter on March 14th. My 16-year-old daughter had a baby. And so we have 7 children, 2 babies. It is absolutely insane. This where I filmed this is my basement. And my mom said it in the chat. There's one break the cycle wall and a huge playroom all back there. It's all it is. Barbie dream houses and
right.
But so I mean, where do you stand on that specific comment? I mean, it was a tough comment for somebody like me to hear because I want to tear these systems down, right? Like I'm that guy. Like I know I work in politics, but I'm anarchist at heart, and I want to tear these systems completely down to the ground. I think they're vile, horrible bullshit that need to be teared down. So if we're just telling people, well, go make enough money that they don't matter anymore, maybe that's helpful to some people, but I don't think that's helpful to the majority of people.
So I think there's a theoretical way to look at it, and then there's a realistic way to look at it. And I don't want to totally speak for Matt, although I have gotten to know him a little bit over the last several months.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. I like Matt. I think Matt's usually on the ball,
I'm guessing that he said that knowing that could be a bit of a thorny way to say it. That's part of his style sometimes, is to kind of get reaction out of people. But Harry Brown said the same thing in one of his early books. He's actually the guy that turned me towards libertarianism. How to Be Free in an Unfree World was the book. And so I think a more, let's say, kinder and gentler way to say that is, look, we would all like these systems to be torn down, especially the one that taxes you, especially the IRS. That's the nicest way I'll say that, because I don't want to get you kicked off of YouTube.
Sure.
But certainly we all want that. And that's theoretical. In the real world, while they're there, one way to make them unimportant is to make a lot of money. Is that an easy thing to do? No, I wish I could do it. I mean, I'm okay, but sometimes I just feel a little bit too lazy to go make an extra few $100,000. That's hard. I don't know that I'm talented enough. However, I certainly see that as one viable way to live outside of worrying about how many taxes you pay. Is to make enough. It's almost like saying, just at a lesser level, I really want to afford nice coffee once a week, but damn, it's expensive. Well, then make a little bit more money and you can pay for it.
Sure.
It might sound kind of cold, but it's also kind of true.
It doesn't matter. I talked about this last night on my show. I don't buy anything for myself anymore except cigarettes and coffee. That's it. That's all I got. That's all I got now.
Yeah. Well, imagine if your cigarettes were, I'm sure they're insanely expensive with taxes compared to when I used to smoke. But if they were, let's say, $50 a carton.
Shout out to California. Shout out to they're way more than that in California. Way more than that.
Are they really? See, that's how long.
Like $80
I smoke. For a carton?
Oh, yeah.
Well, see, if someone wants to go smoke, make a little bit more money, and you can afford some cancer sticks.
I think cigarettes are like around $10 a pack in California now.
That's good. Just what a black market that will create. You're going to end up like the guy in New York that died from.
Oh yeah, no shit. But I live in Iowa now, so they're like $6 a pack.
Right.
So
okay.
Thankfully,
Jesus.
It's still okay here. It's still okay. But let's talk about this term post-libertarian. Is that something that means something to you, bud?
Not honestly. This is part of my discussion today as well. It meant something to me as far as I had heard it being discussed. Matt talks about it a lot with his partner, Steven, his podcasting partner, Steven. And it makes sense if you're discussing libertarianism plus or something like that, some other ideas. And so that had been a term being thrown around. So I wanted to get these guys. And the best way to qualify what we're going to speak on was everyone knows what post-libertarian, that it's not maybe specifically what it is, but that it's a phrase being thrown about right now by people that are interested in exploring things outside of the non-aggression principle within our circles.
Sure. And that's something that's been really important to me, and I'm sure it's been important to you in the past, the non-aggression principle. It definitely was. It's been on all of our journeys at some point. I think a lot of the more, and it's funny because I feel like the more sane libertarians are kind of getting away from the non-aggression principle, right? Like we've held on to this for so long that now we're letting corporations and the cathedral just run all over us like it's nothing. And so a lot of people are starting to go, hey man, maybe that isn't really a private business, but there's still these people that, these, especially these spurgs in the Libertarian Party who hold on to that to the point of where it's like, dude, you're literally going to be lined up against the wall by Facebook.tm, right?
Yep.
And they're going to be shooting you, and you're going to be like, it's cool, it's a private business, bro.
Yes. Right. And they're not private businesses. That's the strange thing. All of these giant media companies and these conglomerations, there's been not only tax money funneled in through them a lot, many of them were started and funded by CIA operatives. So that's not private. It's not. My wife's salon is private. She owns it with one other person. It's a 2-person salon in downtown Austin. That's a private business. Facebook, Twitter, all of these giant mega corporations, they're not private businesses. So that's out the window. These weirdo libertarians keep using that, and it's just like, it's just a stupid argument.
It's like the dumbest argument, dude. I don't know how to get through to these people. But really the only people that I see making that argument so much anymore is like the people who hang out with fakertarians. Like the fakertarians, like, Twitter and Facebook group, like these shitheads. Those are the only people that I really see making that argument anymore. I think we're getting kind of away from that, and
I hope so.
I'm excited about it. I was one of those people that held onto the nap like it was, nothing could ever be better than this principle, right?
Right.
And I don't know that that's necessarily the truth anymore. And I think that that's, to me, when you guys talk about post-libertarianism, or when these guys talk about that, that's what I see is like, we have to find better ways to try to achieve what we've been doing than just saying, this is the one principle that matters all the time,
That's right. I would agree with that. And that's a very good summation of it. I also saw people really butthurt about the term post-libertarianism. It's not that important of a term to me. I don't want to speak for Matt or Pete or Andrew or Tho, but okay, call it something else. I don't really care what you call it. It's like a friend of mine said, viruses aren't real, so there's no way COVID could be a thing. Okay, call it something besides a virus. Call it the unicorn thing. I don't care what you call it. It was there. So I don't care if you want to call it post-libertarianism or if that term is offensive to someone. Call it something else. Call it people thinking about things after the nap.
Sure. You had the COVID. You were one of the first people I knew that told me you had the COVID, man.
Yeah.
And now a bunch of people from Porkfest are getting it.
I saw Scott said he had it on. He mentioned it on Twitter, and then I heard I couldn't tell if Stefan Kinsella was kidding or not, but he responded and said he had it or something like that, and then. Yeah, was that really going around there?
Yeah, several people have tested positive since leaving Porkfest, which I think, I'm pretty sure.
Did they fly Delta?
Who knows? Maybe.
That's my joke. It's the Delta variant. Sorry.
Oh, how did I not pick up on that? Damn it, dude. Damn it. Yeah, I don't know.
And you're dad.
I live in Iowa, and we had 33 new cases in the whole state yesterday, so it's over here already. And I was at the hospital earlier today. My daughter had to go in for a tooth thing, and he was like, I told the nurse, I was like, there's only 33 cases of this in the whole state yesterday. She's like, yeah, and there's like nobody in any of the ICUs right now, and like I'm not wearing a fucking mask anymore. I'm done. But I never did anyways. You know what I mean? Like I think the only time I ever wore one was like when my daughter was born, or when my son was born, and then when my granddaughter was born. Like the hospitals make you.
Right.
But like the only other time they tried to force me to wear one was at Target, and I walked in. They said I had to wear a mask, and I walked out and went home. Like or I went to Walmart because Walmart didn't give a shit, And,
right. Same here.
Yeah. But so and you're like kind of like a healthcare professional and stuff, man. So
kind of. Yeah. I don't even wear. I'm a firefighter for those who don't know, and I don't even wear. They were telling us you have to wear one in the fire station. No, I don't have to. I'm the boss on my crew, so none of us had to. And then it was, if you don't get vaccinated, that's your choice, but you will always have to wear a mask in the station and on every call. And I thought, okay, sure.
Yeah.
Sure enough, that threat dropped too.
Yeah, they it's funny because here in Iowa, she actually Kim Earls, the governor, actually made the mask mandates illegal. She signed it into law that they're not allowed to have mask mandates here.
Damn it. She must be a libertarian.
Well, yeah. Actually, I came out in favor of that, and the fakertarians are like, Joshua comes out in favor of tyrannical policies. I'm like, fuck that. I don't want businesses telling me I have to cover my face. You know what I mean?
I was kind of kidding. Is she a Republican?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. For sure. Okay. For sure. And she said she'll use executive power or legislation to make sure that there be no passports here for the V word.
Good.
So she's been pretty good on it. I think we had a mask mandate for like 21 days, and then she shut it down. We were shut down, quote unquote, shut down for like a week and a half or 2 weeks, but even when that happened, the restaurants were still at 50% capacity, and like
same here.
And then they opened it right back up. They never stayed shut down. Our numbers never got super high for the whole state, and Des Moines is a big city. I mean, it's not little, you know.
Yeah.
So we did pretty good and all that stuff, but so let's talk a little more philosophy before we get into just boring everybody with talking about hardcore music for the next half hour.
Really? Right.
But we'll get there. We're gonna get there. We're gonna talk some hardcore because we can't hang out and not talk hardcore music, man. We just can't do it.
All right.
Let's talk about the word paleo, okay? Because I know you're a absolute 100% cool with being called paleo, and last year a bunch of people were like, "We're not doing paleo. The paleo's bad. This is paleo." Blah, 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 blah. And the fakertarians are always going off. Paleos are this and that and this and that. But what does paleo mean to you?
Those guys don't like me.
They don't like any of us, dude. Don't worry.
Yeah, this one guy keeps tagging me and calling me a Molyneux fan, and then referencing some article Lou Rockwell wrote about the Mighty Ducks.
Oh yeah, they really talk about the Mighty Ducks thing.
It's like, dude, okay, what? Well, I don't care. Anyways, I'm sorry to get onto that little tangent. Those guys are so strange. They come at me with things like I know about myself and act as if it's some kind of like, ooh, gotcha.
They're like, you like Lou Rockwell? You're like, fuck yeah, I do. Are you kidding me?
Yes. Okay. Cool. Got me. What was your question? Define paleo?
Yeah, the paleo thing. What does it mean to you, man? It's I want to talk more about paleo stuff. I think that the Mises Caucus has kind of embraced this paleo strategy.
They should.
I think they are. I think they do, and I think they openly do it. And I think they were afraid to for a long time because these fakertarian shitheads were trying to. They were really trying to attach the paleo strategy to white nationalism, which is just not what it is, you know?
Right.
So let's talk about it.
Well, paleo strategy, I will say I would differ it from paleo libertarianism because the strategy was specifically based on something that happened in the 90s with Lou Rockwell, Murray Rothbard, and Ron Paul and a couple other Mises people basically getting together with what was called paleo conservatives of the time, which the kind of head figure of that was Patrick Buchanan. But you guys might be familiar with Paul Gottfried. He was part of it. There's a lot of guys on the right that were basically hardcore conservatives and anti-interventionists. They were against the neocons. And so the Rothbardian sect, let's say the Mises Institute libertarians.
And caps, it's okay, you can say it.
Yeah, that's right. They got together, they had a meeting, and it basically said, look, we're fellow travelers here, right? And Murray Rothbard had written off the Libertarian Party for good at that point because he felt that the Libertarian Party, imagine this, was full of libertines and hippies and losers, basically.
Bummer, still is.
And yeah, imagine that. And so he said, look, there's this segment of the right wing now that's returning to the roots of the old right. Which is basically some of the first libertarians and their anti-intervention overseas. That's the biggest part, of course, for Rothbard. And okay, they're politically, let's say not politically, they're culturally conservative. Well, so were Lou Rockwell, Ron Paul, and Murray Rothbard. And so they didn't have an issue there. Part of the deal was they wanted to help push some of the paleo conservatives in a better direction on economics, for instance, not so protectionist, if that makes sense. And so their strategy then was to drop the Libertarian Party and endorse Patrick Buchanan. That's the strategy. Now, the actual paleo-libertarian, the quickest way to phrase it for me would be to say is you're a right-wing libertarian.
Sure.
And that seems to kind of get the message across to most people. And I you have to say, you don't have to. I prefer to say this and use this qualifier in front of the word libertarian because most people think of the word libertarian and either think of someone like Gary Johnson, think of someone like Nick Gillespie at Reason Magazine or Reason Foundation in general, or the Cato Institute, or the guy with the boot on his head, or the fat person naked at one of the conventions. A lot of people think those thoughts, and I don't want those thoughts associated with me.
Sure.
So that's, if you use the term paleo, and of course there's going to be people that are like, well, I don't get what that is. Is it the diet? But if you can explain to them it's Rothbardian libertarianism, it's Lew Rockwell libertarianism, it's right-wing libertarianism, that tends to at least give some kind of concept on what you're talking about. And it pisses off the people that you want to piss off too.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. I don't disagree. I think, it is one of the first things Tom Woods ever said to me. We talked about this on his podcast the other day. He had me on, like, randomly called me one day and was like, hey, can you make a show tonight? I was like, hell yeah, I can. Anything for you, Tom. I think it was Father's Day.
If anyone should be able to talk on Father's Day, it's you and him.
Yeah.
The kids y'all have together could be a baseball team.
Exactly. So we had a really good conversation. But one of the first things Tom, I think that was my fourth time being on Tom Woods, and that was a hardcore, like, cringe name drop, wasn't it? That was my fourth time being on Tom Woods. So
hold on, I got that name you just dropped.
but the first time I was on, I was so fucking nervous, right? Like I was like, oh my God, Tom Woods is gonna have me on his show. I didn't know what I was doing. I was like a West Coast maintenance man. I didn't, I was just starting to come up, and he's like, oh, you're running for chair. You want to come on the podcast? And I'm like, oh, the fucking Tom Woods show? Yeah, sure. And he said, look, if the Libertarian Party is going to carry this moniker, this name, this libertarian name, then it should be run by people who are, devout libertarians, unapologetic. And that shit stuck with me the whole time because that was one of the reasons why I ran for chair the first time, is because I'm watching Nick Shitwark go after, Eric July and Dave Smith and Ron Paul, of all people,
Mm-hmm.
and so I started this mission to change the Overton window in the Libertarian Party, to change it back to this beautiful philosophy of staunch libertarianism. And I've hooked up with the Mises Caucus, who was 50 people in a Facebook group at the time. I don't know if you were around back then, but and now they're they have 25 state parties, and there's still a whole nother convention season to go before the national convention. We still have a whole nother year of conventions. And I don't think anyone understands what the Mises Caucus has become and what it has grown into. And who's, threatening to run for president in 2022 or 2024. And, but you probably know a little bit about that. And, let's talk about that. Let's say that, Dave Smith runs for president in the United States. What is Buck Johnson going to do in that situation?
Well,
you're not going to call him a predator, I hope.
No, I certainly would not. I like Dave. We've had good interactions so far. And he's been very important to my development as not only a podcaster, but as a libertarian. And he's got a very good way at putting things. I've always enjoyed that. Well, it depends who he's running against, doesn't it?
It does. And who knows who may pop up. Could be Donald Trump, GOP again, 2024.
I can promise you this: I won't be voting for the Democrat.
I was really wondering, Buck.
It won't be. I mean, even if it's Tulsi, if the other options, well, I probably would not vote for the Democrat. Depends who the Republican is.
Sure.
If the Republican Party, and I do not think this is going to happen, especially after the interview I had today, if they were to somehow reverse course and go back towards establishment and or neocon Republicans, then they have zero support from me. And then it would be all Dave Smith. However, if they continue to edge further right and hit the populist route, which I suspect is going to be the case, then we'll have to see where I'm at in 2024.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. It'd be kind of interesting to see something like Massey, Dave Smith, and Tulsi Gabbard running all at the same time, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Could
you wouldn't want I mean, it's such a three-way split, you know. And sadly enough, if I had to just rank those as people I would actually love to be in charge, of course it'd be Dave Smith first, Thomas Massey, and Tulsi Gabbard. But that's not when you shake it all up, you just don't get. There's going to be a certain order to how it really ranks out, and it won't be the favored order by me. Yeah, boy, would I like to see Dave Smith up there on the Republican nomination stage, just like Ron Paul did in 2008 and 2012. Could you imagine that platform for him?
Yeah. Good luck, though. I don't think he's going. He's not going to the GOP, buddy.
Either. But could you imagine if he's up there with someone like Kevin McCarthy, or I don't know who they're going to – they always field at least 10 people to start with, and they start dropping like flies. But like Howard Kasich or just these absolute scum Republicans – imagine Dave on a national stage, worldwide audience, just nailing some of those guys to the wall.
It would be so beautiful, so beautiful. No one has ever called those people psychopaths like Dave could call them psychopaths, other than maybe Ron Paul.
Yeah,
you know,
Ron Paul's just always a touch nice.
Yeah,
and that's in his nature. Because he's just a sweet person. But Dave could turn on that kind of New York attitude just a bit and just.
He could just
go right at him.
He could just treat them all like Nicholas Sarwark in his debate with Gene.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so treat him all like he was treating Vin, I suppose, on Pete's show.
Yeah, that too. Oh, yeah, that's too. I need to check that. That's the one I haven't checked out yet. Did Dave and Vin both go on there?
No.
Oh,
Dave went on there and he discussed Vin.
Yeah, I would love to see Vin and Dave in the same room.
I was going to make a joke, but I won't. I don't suspect that's going to happen.
Yeah, I don't think so either. You know, you can't go around calling a guy a predator.
No.
And not really bring anything to back it up, and then end up in the same room with him, you know, for a guy from, you know, the inner city of New York and shit. It's probably a bad idea. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of people around this country that deserve a pop in the mouth from myself for sure, and Dave Smith definitely.
There's a lot that deserve a pop in the mouth from you.
Yeah, man, a lot.
I've seen some of the people go at you in really, really low ways.
There's one guy who lives about an hour away from me. Keeps threatening. We'll see if it happens. I'd be really, really happy if it does. I promise you, very, very fucking happy if he showed up
here. Throw the nap out the window.
Yeah, there's not going to be any nap involved in that situation. That's for sure. And you know, it's funny. I'm from a place where we grew up fighting, and some of these people, they run their mouths and they don't really know. They don't really know who they're talking to. I don't think. I think they think that I'm just some, you know, suburban politician guy, and I'm like, yeah, that wasn't who I was before this shit. I'll tell you that. You know.
Yeah. I see that a lot, and I sound like an old man, but I see that from younger people where they'll go off on you on social media, and it's like, you realize if I see you, I'd just beat your ass, and it wouldn't hurt my feelings to do it
at all.
But the second those kind of people, if you hit them, that's the second, or even if you push them, hey, this guy's assaulting me, and they scream like just getting knocked out's the worst thing you could do to, it's like, just get your ass up in a few minutes and don't talk shit again.
Yeah, getting knocked out's not that bad, dude. It's happened to me several times. I'm not saying I'm the toughest guy in the world. I've definitely been knocked out, but I guarantee you the guys that want to fight me all the time online have never been knocked out before.
Right.
And the first time is always the worst time. You know what I mean? Let's talk a little bit about the Tho Bishop method, as I'm calling it these days. I think Tho is a national treasure. He's one of the smartest people I've ever had a conversation with. It was almost hard for me to keep up with him. He talks very fast, first of all.
Yes. He's got a lot of information to give.
But he's very smart.
Yes.
And I think he's got the right idea about a lot of things. Even though I'm a guy who believes in the Libertarian Party still, I was, after 2020, after the 2020 chair race, after seeing, I'm almost positive they fucking stole the vote from us. I'm almost positive. I'm not going to be the, stop the steal guy and go around and make a big stink about it, but all the motion votes were like around 640 votes. And then all of a sudden the chair election was over 900 votes with a bunch of unvetted delegates. And I lost by 100 votes.
I thought you were talking about the 2020 presidential election, which sounds very similar, though.
Right. But I'm talking because they did half of it online and half of it in person, and the whole thing was just shady. And I'm almost positive that I probably rightfully won that shit. And I've talked a little bit about it, but I've never made a big stink. There's other people on the board that feel the same way. And some have even talked about trying to push for an audit and shit. And I'm just like, I don't care. Like, I don't give a shit anymore. So I got really black-pilled. Like, after 2020, I almost gave up. I was almost at a point where I was like, I got 7 kids now. You know, I got the show. I'm doing work. I'm just going to I'm going to leave. Like, I'm just not going to do politics anymore. But then, you know, all this shit started happening with the Libertarian Party Mises Caucus. They actually started getting the wins that we had been working for years. And I was like, you know, that's cool as shit. If this is going to happen, I need to be around to watch it happen, you know? And, but I do think that there's some value in, trying to push the Republican Party more libertarian. I do.
Yes.
Or more, you know, just in a more free direction, more anti-war direction, anti-Fed direction.
Sometimes I don't want to necessarily say more libertarian, although I think that's maybe implicit in the idea, but I would say further to the right, if you will, because I think neoconism is leftism. So when I say further to the right, I mean further away from neocon establishment influence and more in the like the old right, Pat Buchanan and that field. That's what I would be for. And we can work on certain economic issues when we get to those. But right now, there's a lot of bigger fish to fry than that.
Sure. We're getting some cool super chats, so I just want to address these real quick. First of all, thank you to my good friend Nick Ashley for becoming a member of the channel. I appreciate you, especially because one of the custom emojis is actually Nick Ashley. So that's pretty cool. Top Lobster says the live stream was great yesterday. Quick emoji flex. He dropped all the new emojis, and that was your live stream. He said it was good.
Awesome.
Welcome and thank you to Mauser Guy for becoming a channel supporter. Unironic and Cap. Thank you for the super chat. He said Bush 2024.
not that kind.
Yeah, that's not the bad Bush. Come on, guys. John Chow, great guy, lawyer from New York. He says corporations or government entities try to start one without filing papers. Every single one. Limited liability is incompatible with the free market.
I would have some pushback. I agree with him as it is now. I think if there were a free market, complete ANCAP, I think you would have some form of something like that, but not as it is currently.
Sure. And then thank you to End Democracy for the super chat. So this is a good one. We'll probably talk a little more about this one. He said, Buck and Josh, really great guys. Ass beating liberty. He said, the only libertarians are right libertarians. If you capitulate to the left, you become the left.
Yes.
So let's talk a little bit about that. So
who wrote that?
That's it. End Democracy is the name that is put up.
Okay, yeah.
And it was a super chat. Thank you so much for all $5 super chats. I really appreciate you guys. So let's talk a little bit about capitulating to the left, okay? Because there are some things, even as hardcore libertarians or hardcore, right libertarians, conservative libertarians, we agree with the left on.
Yes.
There are some very staunch anti-war groups out there who are still hardcore lefties. There's some that want to end the state, even if we don't agree with where we want to go after the state's ended, which is, we're really talking about a utopian dream there anyways. But are there any issues that you think we should work with the left on at all? Or do you think we should just tell them to eat shit and die?
The genuine, actual, real people that believe in left-wing economics, like if you're talking about a Tulsi Gabbard type person, yes, certainly there's olive branches to be extended on the issues of war. And I think you saw this with Ron Paul when he was in Congress. I believe, was it Dennis Kucinich maybe that he would work with, and certain like genuine people that happen to be on the left. It's just that the modern, more recent incarnation of leftism is so vile and evil that there's not a lot to work with there. Now, you and I could talk about like certain individuals we might know, sure. In fact, there's a friend of mine that's, I think she's actually changed over about the last year, but she has a hammer and sickle tattoo on her ribs. And boy, she was ate up with this stuff. She was telling me about how fake the Russia stuff was with Trump and how it was the deep state and how it's Hillary Clinton and then these, reptile types. And I was like, you sure you're a communist? You seem a Alex Jones type, and it's like she was a Jimmy Dore fan. She kind of moved right over the course of time. But yeah, there's very few leftists I think you could work with, but I think they exist. It's just more so the movement as a mass movement is just vile, hungry for power. They're not anti-war, they're pro-war, and they want us lined up against a wall. And there's a lot of them in the Libertarian Party too.
Yeah, unfortunately, but thankfully they're leaving. That's
I hope.
That's been the cool thing about the last couple of weeks. Andy Craig gone.
Where they go?
I don't know, but they dropped their donations and took off, cited bigotry and racism and all this shit as the reason they're leaving. Nick Sarwark actually ended his national donations to the National Party. It's like they walk out, try to salt the earth and say, cite all these things that why they're leaving and expect us all to be upset. And it's like the wins just keep coming, dude.
Mm-hmm.
For us, it's wins. I mean, that's what we were, it was never even about, like, for us, it was never even about like throwing these people out of the party. We made, sure there was, I know, sure there was a lot of, jokes about it and stuff, but it was like more of a, look, we're not going to tell you have to leave the party, but we're telling you to get in the fucking back seat. We're driving the car now. But I always suspected that if we started driving the car, those people were going to leave anyways. And I was right. I was right from day one. I said, if I don't pack my bags and go back to the Republican or go to the Republican Party, I haven't been a Republican since 2010. And they had he just came from the Republican Party. I've been a registered voting libertarian for a decade. First of all, fuck you. And they, they always were like, hey, they're going to go back. And I always suspected that if I lost and didn't go back and kept fighting and we started making the party in our image, that they would leave. And it's true. I mean, that's what's happening. So hopefully, eventually you'll be like, this Libertarian Party thing, it might be working out, I don't know. What do you think? You think we'll ever get there?
That's a good question. Get where?
Become an actual force for liberty in this country.
No.
Never? You don't believe it, huh? I'm going to change your mind, Buck.
You might. Well, there's a difference between do I think good people will run the Libertarian Party and do I think the Libertarian Party will be a legitimate force?
True.
If you guys take over, then the answer to the first one is yes. If the LPMC takes over, then it will be ran by people that I, for the most part, in my small encounters with them, have been great people. I can't see the Libertarian Party being a force in politics at a national level anytime soon.
Sure.
Now, again, you're talking to a guy that argues that secession is going to happen within the next 5 to 10 years.
Right.
So I might sound like a Libertarian Party voter going, we're going to take over the country in just a few years. But that's my optimism that I suspect there will be a state seceding with the next decade. Who knows? But I don't see the Libertarian Party as a whole on a national level being a force that's considered with any seriousness or legitimacy. I think it could be within certain smaller segments of politics, but at the same time, do you really need a political party if you're running for local sheriff or whatever? I don't know.
Some of the state legislators, I mean, the state legislating legislator runs do have to have a party. It is a partisan, and that's how we keep the presidential campaign keeps us ballot access in like 26 states. So it's an important thing that we do. I do agree with you. I don't think, I think there's some places where we can do some damage, like Ricky Harrington running against Tom Cotton in Arkansas. We got 30-something% of the vote as a libertarian against Tom Cotton for Senate. That was huge. It was like a record-setting libertarian run. And he got to go on PBS and address the Arkansas PBS and address his entire constituency for an entire hour because Tom Cotton refused to debate him on the debate. So he was the only one there. Cool stuff can happen. And I think it's important because we can move society. But I agree. I think state and local especially is where we should be focused. The Libertarian Party did just win some state legislating seats for the first time since the 70s. So there's a move. It's working. Okay. But I agree. I don't think that we're going to do much nationally. I think the presidential run is actually a 50-state media tour for libertarian principles.
Well, here's something that's interesting. So in 2024, let's say it's Ron DeSantis against Kamala Harris. Then I don't want Dave to be the Libertarian Party candidate
Right.
because I like Dave and he's too fucking good and awesome at his message, which is a good message. I'd rather someone like Nick Sarwark or something or fucking Amash be the LP face, because then the vote won't be split, if that makes sense. Sure. That's my concern. The other concern is that I don't want to say it's a concern, but if by 2024 it's Kamala Harris against Ron DeSantis and we've faced another wave of variant kind of mess and there's been more threats of lockdowns in certain states and or national vaccine passports or anything like that, Ron DeSantis is obviously going to be against all of the stuff we hate.
Sure.
And so what do you do if you're the national LP? You going to fight that?
They will. Scary. They're going to.
Yeah, so
no doubt about it. It's going to happen.
Be the enemy of the good is what wise people say.
Right, enemy of the good for the perfect, or whatever, however that saying goes.
Now, if it's someone like Nikki Haley or Tom Cotton or one of these pieces of shit that I don't like, more power to the LP.
Right,
because the Republicans didn't learn a lesson. But I suspect Steve Bannon the other day, I listened to him constantly. He said there's no doubt in his mind it's going to be Trump. So I didn't think Trump's age was going to be something that was going to help him out in this case. But Steve Bannon's a pretty smart dude, so I don't know.
Well, hey, man, Alex Jones seems to think that Donald Trump will be the president prior to 2024. So
I hope he's right.
I do too. Look, there's a lot of shit I didn't like about Donald Trump, but holy shit, Joe Biden, ouch, dude, ouch.
And given a long enough timeline, Alex is always right. It seems like Is this just going to be another coin in the tip jar?
I mean, even the frogs were gay, dude.
Exactly.
They were actually gay. Frogs were actually turning gay. I remember hearing that and going, "What the fuck is this guy talking about?" Because I used to listen to Alex a lot, And I'm like, "What is going on here?" And then come to find out, he was right about the gay frogs.
Yeah,
he's got to be right about everything else.
He's from this area that I live in, and when I was back in the early 2000s, he had an FM talk show on the radio. So I listened to him all the time, and he's putting out these documentaries, and that was during the Bush years. So it was okay for someone like Alex to be in Austin, Texas, if you're putting out propaganda that's anti-Bush, right? But then when Obama got elected, he wasn't quite as popular here in Austin.
Yeah, Austin's a weird place, man.
I'm nearby.
Austin's cool. Like, it's a cool city, but it is very, very, like, left for Texas.
It's turning to trash, though. It's horrible now.
Really?
I got out. That's one of the reasons I got out. Yeah, it's disgusting.
That's a bummer, man. That's a bummer. Well,
that's
man,
what the left does.
We are getting close to the end of this thing, and then we're going to go and do the exclusive chat where we'll probably talk about hardcore music and controversial subjects, because that's what I like to do. And if you want to become a member of the channel, you can watch that live, or a member of the Patreon or Subscribe Star to watch it tomorrow, uploaded in the morning. But Buck, where can all these wonderful people find you and support you and listen to you, man?
Okay, so any podcatcher, Counterflow Podcast, you can find it. Our website's up and running, counterflowpodcast.com. You can find me on Twitter at BuckRebel, BuckRebel. And we got Telegram group, all of that stuff. Anywhere you search Counterflow with Buck Johnson, I will be there. Our YouTube page, subscribe on the YouTube page. We're trying to get that as big as the podcast is, at least, because I didn't give it any love for several years. But we'll be doing live streams and all kinds of cool stuff on the YouTube page, Counterflow with Buck Johnson.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Hey, I really appreciate you coming on, dude. Make sure to hang on, because I'll start the new stream for the members here in about 2 minutes or so.
All right.
All right, brother. Thank you so much. All right, guys. Another awesome episode of Break the Cycle. Buck's literally the coolest guy in the world, man. Go and give this man your support. He's got a great podcast. He's got that smooth, silky voice, man. You know what I mean? Way better than mine. Way better than mine. I think I talked about that the last time I had him on. I do want to shout out Magoo82. He threw a super chat, said just wanted to show some love to Buck. Buck can hear that, so thank you, Magoo. Level 0, everything flows from economics. Anyone with right-wing economics, Austrian, can get along no matter the strategy for liberty. I agree. That is something I agree on. We may have different strategies, but we all agree from an economic standpoint, and we can work together on certain issues. No matter what party you're in, I don't care if you're a Democrat party. I don't care if you're an Austrian guy working with the DSA. It's never going to happen. But if you were, I'd work with you on economic issues for sure. But anyways, guys, I really appreciate you. I don't know if you know this yet. I've talked a little bit about it, but we are doing exclusive after-hours content now after every single stream. So as soon as this stream ends, there'll be another stream started that's for members of this channel only. You can join under any of the videos. There's a join link there. You can also join the Patreon at patreon.com/breakthecyclejs or subscribestar.com/Josh breakthecyclejs. I will upload the content there by the next evening at the latest. You won't get it live, but you will get it live here. But you get all kinds of other swag over there, t-shirts and mugs and Discords and all kinds of cool stuff. Let's check out some sponsors. Of course, Lorenzotti.coffee for all your delicious Italian coffee needs delivered directly to your door. Bring the taste of Italy home. Use BTC at checkout. TopLobster.com, my homie, my friend, one of the coolest guys you're ever going to meet. Go check out his stuff. You can get this awesome sunset custom Break the Cycle logo on any kind of hoodie, but you can get it on this great dark camo hoodie too for a 10% discount by using BTC at checkout, or join the Patreon Subscribestar, or the channel member link here under the videos. I will still get you into the Discord if you message me on Twitter, where you can get Top Lobster gear 2 weeks before it goes to the general population at a 30% discount. Of course, executive producers, anthemplanning.com for all your emergency and crisis planning needs. Check them out. See what they can do for your business, personal, or home today. Amazing people, wonderful people from Delaware. Please go see what they can do for you. Check them out. Guys, coming up on the show next week, I'm going to have Top Lobster. We are doing 5 shows a week going forward, at least through July and into August. I have not got the graphics up for all this stuff yet, but I will tell you, next week is going to be fire. I got Top Lobster on Monday. I got Jeff Shipley, state legislator here from Iowa, who's actually going to be in the studio with me on Tuesday. I have the man Ryan Dawson on the show on Wednesday. On Thursday, we're going to have Carol Roth, which is going to be amazing. She's a New York Times best-selling author with a new book coming out. I think it comes out today or tomorrow. And then on Friday, I'm going to have my good friend Larry Sharp, who ran for governor of New York, on. Very excited about next week. Definitely subscribe to the YouTube or the Odyssey, or check me out on any of the podcatchers under Break the Cycle with Joshua Smith. I will see you guys Monday for the show with Top Lobster. But until then, don't forget to break the cycle.
Due to legal reasons, I just have to explain. The lyrics of my last song may seem to contain a violent call to action in the verse and refrain, but I just meant it in Minecraft. The helicopter part was in reference to GTA 5 and the things you do. So any violence you commit, I am not an excuse, because I just meant it in Minecraft. Well, Chipper is my friend and he's constantly cold. Accusations of incitement getting totally old. Make your own choices, yeah, you have control, because I just meant it in Minecraft. Obviously I would never advocate force, unless there's due process and a trial, of course. And if you're convicted, we will make you a corpse in Minecraft, just in Minecraft. Nothing I mean, you know it. Don't try to finish, get some clothes from COVID.